Ghosts of Legend. The room reeked of scorched metal and blood. Sparks popped from exposed conduits. Smoke curled upward, like incense over a battlefield altar. The alien soldiers laughed a harsh metallic cackle that echoed unnaturally through the shattered remains of what had once been a human research station. Their laughter had a texture like blades grinding against glass. One of them, tall and plated in iridescent black scales, nudged a blood-soaked helmet with the tip of his boot. Legends, he rasped, his translator box crackling. The humans loved their little stories. Another, broader and adorned with silver-banded armor, chuckled as he picked up a cracked data slate. A flick of his clawed finger and a flickering hologram bloomed in the smoky air. Ghostly images hovered, Earth's famed war icons etched in light and memory. Captain Sienna Cortez, the Martian front commander who once held off 10,000 enemy bots, with only 2 companies and a hacked AI. The Ghost of Tokyo, a cyber assassin rumored to have vanished into thin air after slipping a blade through a prime minister's throat. And beneath them all, nothing more than a silhouette, a black project so secret it had no symbol, only a name spoken in fear. Project Revenant. The alien commander scoffed stories fables for the weak. The Revenants vanished 10 years ago, if they ever existed at all. Then they end here, another sneered, kicking over a blood-streaked console just like their species. They turned their backs to the display, unaware of the slight motion in the shadows. A cough barely audible over the ambient crackle of dying systems broke the tension like a snapped wire. Silence followed. Every alien turned weapons half-raised. Their eyes scanned the wreckage, the blood, the tangled limbs. Near the collapsed server stacks, a steel beam had fallen at a jagged angle. Beneath it, pinned and broken, lay a human soldier. His uniform was torn, chest rising in shallow labored breaths. Burn marks streaked his arms, and one eye was swollen shut. His name patch was scorched, but a few letters remained. Axe. The smallest alien among them stepped forward, raising its weapon. Survivor, it hissed. Should I terminate? The scaled commander held up a hand and approached, curiosity outweighing caution. He crouched beside the dying human and tapped a wrist-mounted scanner against the man's chest. Barely alive, he muttered. What were you protecting here? Human. A lie. A ghost. Jack's coughed, blood bubbling at the corner of his lips. He stared up at the alien, unblinking. There was no fear. Only something far colder. You think it's over? He whispered, his voice rough like gravel. You think we're just stories? The alien commander laughed, cruel and dismissive. You are story's end. Earth will fall. Jack smiled. It was weak, broken, but there was steel behind it. Pride, maybe even satisfaction. They're real, he said. The alien flinched. What? The Revenants, they're not gone. The words dropped like lead into the room. Laughter exploded from the other soldiers. One doubled over. Another spat on the floor. Another lie, he barked. You humans, keep your myths warm while you died. But Jax's eyes didn't waver. A tear slipped down one bloodied cheek. Not of sorrow, but something deeper. Defiance, you should have left us alone, he whispered. Then the lights flickered. First red, then blue. An override, no one had touched the system. From the far end of the ruined station came a sound. A mechanical whir, slow and deliberate, like the breathing of something massive. Weapons snapped up. Tension fractured into fear. What is that? The commander barked. Jax exhaled his last breath like a prayer. They're here. Then the lights died, and the screaming began. The night they came. The station fell into a darkness so complete, even the alien sensors designed to scan beyond visible light struggled to make sense of it. Not a power outage, something worse. Switch to biovision, the commander growled, his voice taut. Defensive formation. Shapes shifted, unsure in the gloom. One soldier activated a visor implant, scanning for thermal spikes, only to find none. No signatures, no movement. Then he vanished. No scream, no flash, just gone. A heartbeat later, a sickening crack echoed from the far corner. Something hit the floor, wet and final. The remaining soldiers turned weapons, firing in reflex. Violet plasma bolts streaked through the dark, illuminating the room in bursts. In each flicker, something moved. Fast, silent, wrong. Something between frames of motion, not visible, not quite there. I saw one alien began to shout, but his voice cut off mid-word. Another body dropped beside the commander. He looked down. A helmet, black matte, human-made, still warm. It rolled to a stop at his feet. He froze. Fear rose, not the tactical kind, but something older, primeval. Something buried in the marrow. He knew Predator. Fall back, he barked, to the dropship. Go! The aliens regrouped, moving as one. Disciplined, yes, but shaken. They reached the exit corridor. Sealed. Blasted! Someone screamed. A smaller alien slammed a clawed hand against the console. It's not broken, It's locked down from the inside. That's impossible. There's no one left alive. They were wrong. From the ventilation shaft above, something dropped. No sound, no warning. It didn't attack, not yet. It stood, a silhouette in the flickering emergency lights, motionless. Humanoid, tall armor, head to toe in black plating, veined with glowing blue cracks, like stone shattered by lightning. No insignia, no markings, no face, only the hum, a low vibration from beneath the armor, alive and cold. The commander raised his rifle. Identify yourself. The figure tilted its head, almost curious. Then it moved. In one breathless second, a soldier screamed, their weapon arm severed mid-shout, blood spraying in a crimson arc. Another was lifted, pinned to the ceiling by a blade that hummed at a pitch high enough to fracture nearby glass. Retreat, the commander howled. But there was no retreat. The ceiling vents hissed. More shadows poured out. Figures armored, silent, inhuman in speed, human in intent. The revenants had come, not myths, not ghosts, executioners. One by one, the aliens were dismantled. Not in rage, not in chaos, like drills, like a war game. The commander fought back, no rookie. He parried, slashed, drew blood. But the revenant didn't flinch. It caught his blade and crushed it with one hand. You should have believed him, it said, voice modulated into a cold growl. Jax warned you. Then it slammed the commander against the wall. Hard, metal cracked bones followed. He slid to the ground, dazed, bleeding. Around him, his squad lay broken, torn dolls scattered across a forgotten nursery. The revenants did not gloat. They did not speak. They only stood, silent, watching. He laughed, a desperate choking sound. You think this matters? The war's already over. Earth will burn. A revenant stepped forward. Not if we burn first. Then the lights died again, and he screamed. Hours passed. The smoke hadn't cleared. Not fully. Above the station, a patrol vessel descended through the ion-streaked sky, part of the Zarketh Dominion fleet, one of many that had spearheaded the invasion of Earth's outer colonies. The soldiers on board were elite, experienced, trained to subdue human insurgents and crush resistance cells. But nothing had prepared them for this. They landed in silence. Scans showed no signs of energy discharge, no lingering plasma fields, no combat heat signatures, just cold and blood. The Dominion troops entered. Inside, they found silence. No human bodies, no survivors. Just traces, smears of blood, bits of shredded armor, the smell of ozone and something else, something ancient. Fear. Their boots crunched on broken glass. They split into search teams. The squad leader, Captain Varnock, had fought at the Martian outposts. He'd seen humans fight to the last breath. But this was different. His comm crackled, Sir Room 7 Gamma. You should see this. He arrived moments later and stopped. The walls were covered in blood-drawn symbols, scrawled, chaotic, repeated over and over. We are still here. In the center of the room, a pile of alien armor, arranged, not destroyed. A message, but the worst was yet to come. On the far wall, etched into the metal in jagged, unnatural gouges, were 3 numbers. 017. Varnock went pale. He knew that number. Everyone in command did. It was buried in Earth's darkest files. Revenant 17, the ghost of Harabase. A myth, a nightmare. He turned to his comms, voice shaking. This is Captain Varnock, high alert. Revenants confirmed, project status not terminated. I repeat, they are operational. Silence, then static, then a voice, not from his fleet, not from Earth. You're too late. And somewhere deep in the ship, a soldier screamed. Call sign 017. The rescue team moved cautiously now. The laughter was gone, replaced by a silence so thick it pressed against the skin like static. They were professionals, armed, trained, augmented, but each quarter made them flinch. Each flickering light drew a twitch of the trigger finger. Captain Varnock led the charge through the next hall, flanked by 2 lieutenants. Their scanners hummed uselessly, blinking error after error. Motion readings distorted. Power fluctuations spiked and died without cause. Report Varnock, snap. 8 bodies confirmed so far. Came Lieutenant Krell's voice over the comms. No human signatures, no signs of survivors. That wasn't right. This facility had been under human control just 12 hours ago. Scientists, engineers, guards, dozens, maybe hundreds. Now only blood. And none of the blood trails led to human corpses. Just absence. Another transmission crackled in Captain Room 7 Gamma. There's more. Varnock was already moving. When he entered the room, swallowed him. Not with darkness, but something worse, recognition. On the far wall beneath the scrawled symbols, embedded deep into reinforced titanium, were those numbers. 17. Even carved in blood, even unspoken, they meant something. To humans a legend, to aliens a warning. Varnock stepped forward slowly, examining the crude shrine of ruined armor. "We have a code designation," he said quietly. "This is Revenant territory." One of the younger soldiers frowned. "That's impossible." Revenants were terminated. Earth shut the project down. Varnock didn't respond, because he knew that wasn't true. He'd read the old reports. The black files, he remembered the orbital sabotage of the first Dominion attack platform 10 years ago. The entire fleet disabled in under an hour. Hundreds dead. No trace of the assailant. Only a whisper, 017, the ghost of Harabase. Suddenly, the comms screeched to life. "This is Captain Varnock, Recon Unit D3, he barked. "We are issuing a high-level alert. Project Revenant is not terminated, I repeat. Revenants are active and hostile across." His voice cut off, not by jamming, by interruption. A voice crackled through the comm, modulated and cold, dripping into the ship like oil. "You're too late, Captain." Varnock's blood ran cold. "Identify yourself," he demanded. No response. Then a scream, not over comms, real nearby. He drew his weapon and sprinted toward the sound. His squad's formation dissolved around him. No one was trained for this. The scream had come from the engineering deck. He reached the door. Locked. Override failure. The console sparked. Someone had sliced the interface from inside. "Move," Varnock barked. One of his men used an external plasma cutter to breach the seal. The door hissed open. What was left of the squad wasn't no gunfire, no struggle, just silence. A single Dominion officer's body remained intact, sort of. His face was frozen in a look of pure terror. His fingers dug into his own throat as though trying to rip out something that wasn't there. "Get me visuals," Varnock ordered. The ship's security feed flickered, sputtered, then finally activated. Static filled the screen. Then an image. One figure stood in the ship's core. Black armor, blue, veins of energy glowing along the surface, smoke rising from the shoulders. In one hand, a severed Dominion officer's head. In the other, a data shard. The figure looked directly into the camera. And then the feed died. No one of the engineers whispered, stepping back from the console. That's impossible. He's on the surface. How is he?" But Varnock was already in motion. Lock down the ship. Seal the level. Purge it if necessary. It was too late. The lights flickered, then went out, and the dying began, room by room. No shots, no alarms, just vanishing logs. One soldier here, 2 officers there. Entire squads blinked off the roster like deleted files. The bridge feed blinked to life. Varnock turned to watch. There were 3 of them, Revenants, standing at the far end of the command deck. Still silent, watching. No weapons raised, no threat spoken. Already inside, his second-in-command Vel pulled his pistol. This can't be happening. His head twisted mid-sentence, struck by something invisible. He dropped before the weapon even left its holster. Varnock stumbled back. "What do you want from us?" One of the Revenants stepped forward, slightly shorter voice like a scalpel. "You forgot what fear feels like." She pointed to the console behind her. Across the system, Dominion ships began detonating, one by one. Precise, planned, sabotage. And Varnock realized this war was never about conquest. It was vengeance. The Revenant Protocol. 10 years earlier, Earth was dying not from war, not from disease, but from something far more insidious: compromise. The Dominion fleets had crushed Earth's outer colonies, blockaded Mars, and turned Ganymede into a mass grave. Faced with extinction, the Terran Union signed peace accords laced with shame. Territories were ceded, outposts abandoned, entire populations left behind with nothing but a whisper. "We'll come back for you." But they never did. The colonies fell silent. On Earth, history was rewritten. Families forgotten, pain buried beneath propaganda. But in the shadow of Saturn's icy rings, far from oversight in orbit, Project Revenant was born. It wasn't official, it wasn't legal, and it wasn't meant to succeed. The project began with a single directive: create weapons no enemy can comprehend. But no one asked at what cost. There were no recruitment drives, no volunteers, only selections. Candidates were pulled from the void-failed soldiers, convicted, war criminals, former prisoners of Dominion, experimentation. Some had cybernetic limbs grafted in torture labs. Others carried DNA splices from failed genetic programs. All had one thing in common: they were already dead, at least on paper. Earth issued fake obituaries. Training accidents, lost in action, decompression, failure. Their families mourned, and beneath black ice and void dark stone, the dead were reborn. The training wasn't just brutal, it was inhuman. Sleep was a privilege. Pain was currency. Memories were dissected and rewritten. Emotions were regulated by neural implants. Fear was not removed, it was weaponized. Armor fused with flesh, interfaces bonded with nerves. The suit wasn't worn, it grew from them, adapted to their vitals, mirrored their hate. Each operative was given a call sign, but their true identities were buried beneath numbers. The first success was Unit Earth 17, codenamed Silas, once a rebel from Mars, once a father, once a man who watched Dominion plasma vaporize his wife and child in one blue burst of light. The Union called it a strategic loss. He called it betrayal. Silas didn't speak for the first 8 months. He trained, fought, killed faster, colder, cleaner than any other. The trainers called him Ghost, but he remembered his real name. Every day, every minute, he remembered the way his daughter's fingers curled around his hand, the way the stars looked before the sky turned to fire. The Revenants were not built for defense. They were forged for vengeance, not to defend Earth, but to punish those who dared forget it. They were deployed only in the darkest hours. Missions that never reached public channels. Operations without witnesses. For every success, a mark was added to their armor. Not a trophy, but a name. Not names of enemies, names of the dead. The ones they failed to save, the ones no one else even remembered. Silas bore over 300. In the Black Ice Fortress, where the Revenants trained, there were no ranks, no speeches, only scars. Unit 017B, codenamed Carrara. Once a child soldier in a rebel cell, now walked in silence beside Silas. She moved like a shadow, her voice barely above breath, but her hands never shook. Unit 016 Ash was different, a former saboteur. His armor riddled with microblades, his laughter cold and amused. He whispered through every op, not threats, but memories. Together they were what Earth tried to forget, and what the galaxy would soon remember. Years passed, no acknowledgement, no medals, just silence. Until now, the Revenants hadn't come back for glory. They came back because Earth had once asked them to hold the line and then buried them with the line. In the present standing in the shattered remains of Dominion, ship Zerul Vengeance. Silas removed his helmet. The bridge smelled of scorched plastic and alien blood. His face was scarred, pale eyes like cold iron. Around him, his squad moved with efficient silence. No need for orders, no need for words. Carrera stepped beside him, blood flecked on her cheek. Earth still won't claim us, she said. Silas nodded once. They don't have to. They're hoping we fail, she said quietly. Hoping we die before the truth gets out. He looked at her. We won't. There was a pause. Then she asked the question none of them dared before. You ever wonder? If we're the monsters now? Silas didn't answer. He looked around the corpses, the shattered consoles, the scorched stars outside the viewport. Then he said flat and steady, no, we're just the answer. And behind him, Ash stepped from the shadows. Transmission intercepted, he said, high command human. Silas turned, play it. A voice polished, official, emotionless filled the room. This message is for any Terran operatives acting outside authorized war protocols. The actions of the so-called Revenants are not sanctioned by the Terran Union. Cease all operations immediately. You are jeopardizing fragile peace efforts. Return or be classified as rogue. Silas listened. When it ended, he walked to the console, leaned in close. You left us behind. Then he cut the signal. No threats, no rage, just truth. And as he turned to his team, Ash smirked. They just activated the orbital defense grid on Virex 9. 30,000 troops. Silas didn't hesitate. Then let's show them what they really should be afraid of. And the ghost vanished into the dark. Fortress Virex. Virex 9 was never meant to fall. The Dominion had spent 2 centuries constructing it, first as a forward command base, then as a monument to their conquest. It wasn't just fortified, it was mythologized. 3 orbital bastions orbited the planet like chained titans, armed with ion cannons capable of vaporizing cruisers. The ground-level defenses were a maze of bunkers, kill corridors, layered plasma barriers, and AI-coordinated artillery. No human had ever breached it. None had even tried. Until now, the Revenants didn't arrive in a fleet. They fell, one by one. Black drop pods cloaked in sensor-disrupting material pierced the planet's atmosphere undetected. For 8 full minutes, a Dominion satellite feed looped a clean sky, no alarms, no alert, just silence. By the time someone noticed, the ghost had already walked in. The first sign was a corpse. High Commander Ryak, architect of the Virex AI defense net, was found hanging upside down from the observation tower, his own command codes carved into the wall in blood. No entry alarm, no security alert, just red on metal. And fear. Soon after, sectors began experiencing rolling power failures. Not total blackouts, just enough to seed doubt. Turrets stuttered, communications echoed with distorted whispers. Entire patrols went missing without a shot fired. Inside the control hub, nervous murmurs spread like virus code. They're already here, Revenants, real ones. High Command laughed at first. Psychological warfare, they said. Tactics to sow fear, just human tricks. They were half right, because fear was only the beginning. In the lower levels, just 016 Ash moved like smoke. He planted EMP charges along the corridor junctions, bypassing thermal sensors and stepping between heartbeat scans. Dominion engineers found his work only after the rooms exploded, if they found them at all. In the waste treatment tunnels, 015N, a revenant known only by a single scar across his throat, dismantled automated turrets and nullified gene-locked access panels without triggering a single alert. Every floor, every level, they were inside already. But at the heart of it all was Silas. He moved alone. His armor was already slick with Dominion blood, not from frenzy, but from necessity. Each kill was measured, each corridor cleared with tactical precision. He ignored mission markers flashing on his HUD. He had only one goal: truth. Buried beneath Omega Level 7, accessible only through 3 biometric checks, and a retinal scan from a Dominion Arch-Admiral lay the Virex Central Data Core. Silas broke in through the walls. Inside, he found it. Years of war data, maps of Earth colonies, lists of resistance groups, lists of collaborators, and one folder marked Project Epsilon, Human Reintegration Protocol. Silas opened it. He stood in silence. Plans, not for destruction, but reprogramming. The Dominion wasn't erasing humans. They were rewriting them, altering DNA, suppressing emotions, implanting loyalty protocols. Cultural erasure masked as rehabilitation. Slavery disguised as salvation. Silas's hands shook, not from rage, but from memory. He saw her again, his daughter's face, the sound of her laugh, the warmth of her fingers gripping his thumb, and then gone. He erased it. He downloaded everything, then turned. They were waiting, elite Dominion squads. 15 soldiers, power-armored, mind-linked, their minds sharpened by synthetic adrenals. They didn't speak. They just opened fire. For 6 seconds, the camera feed flickered plasma flashes lighting up the vault. Then static. When it cleared, Silas stood alone, not untouched but unbeaten. And the vault behind him burned. 1 hour later, Dominion High Command broadcasted a system-wide evacuation order. Not a retreat, abandonment. Virex 9 was lost. In orbit, Earth's Deep Space Command finally reacted. A single black channel signal pinged Revenant 017. It read, "Silas, stand down. Return. This war cannot be won." He didn't reply. In the upper levels of the fortress, the Revenants had regrouped. Ash leaned against a console, his visor flickering with amusement. "So what now?" he asked. "The heroes return home." Silas looked out over the burning plains of Virex 9. "We're not at war." He turned to them. "We're cleaning up a betrayal." Far above Earth's skies had never looked so peaceful. Clean blue atmosphere. No orbital wreckage. No scars of the war raging just beyond their vision. To the people below, Earth remained untouched, pristine, but deep beneath the Antarctic ice in a sub-level so classified it didn't exist on paper, alarms were blaring. General Lena Cross, head of Earth's external defense, stood silent at the center of the war room. Holo feeds showed 20 Dominion systems in disarray, fortresses, fallen AI cores disabled, ships exploding in perfect sync, all consistent with Revenant activity. "They're not retaliating anymore," Lena said quietly. "He's building something." But what Silas was building wasn't an army. It was a reckoning. Truth returns to Earth. From orbit, Earth was a painting, a swirl of clouds and oceans untouched by war. No debris belts, no flaming skies, no scorched cities. To the rest of the galaxy, it looked like peace had worked. But deep beneath the southern polar ice shelf, peace was shattering. In sublevel prime of the Terran Union's Central Command, the level that didn't exist on any map, red alarms blinked silently. No sirens, no public alerts, just hushed panic. General Lena Cross stood still in the war chamber, surrounded by flickering holoscreens. Each feed showed devastation, not random, not chaotic. Calculated, in 60 hours, 15 Dominion worlds had been destabilized. Communications severed, orbital fleets gone. Biological data centers wiped, genetic labs burned. "They're not just hitting command targets," one aide muttered. "They're targeting infrastructure, memory vaults, truth archives." Lena's jaw clenched. "He's not doing it for revenge anymore," she said. "He's building something." An officer scoffed. "What an army of monsters." Lena didn't look at him. "No," she whispered, a mirror. The room went quiet. Another aide gestured to a blinking console. "Ma'am, new intercept. You're going to want to see this." They played the signal, not encrypted, not Dominion, not from Earth. Silas's voice came through every civilian broadcast system on Earth. Homes, vehicles, terminal stations. You left us in the dark. You called us unfit, unclean, unstable. But now you'll listen because we're all that's left between you and what you created. We are not your soldiers. We are your reckoning. The feed cut. Chaos bloomed like wildfire. Within the hour, protests crippled half of Earth's major cities. Uprisings flared in colonies, once written off as lost families of the dead. The disappeared demanded answers. And worst of all, whispers. What if they're right? What if Earth really did abandon them? The Union had feared alien fleets, but the truth that terrified them more? Back underground, Lena stared at the frozen screens. He's going to expose everything, she muttered. Every file, every trade, every dirty deal. A council member paled. We send a kill team. He'll see it coming. Negotiate. He'll laugh in our face. Another voice spoke from the shadows. Older, harder. Then we activate Omega. Lena turned slowly. You want to unleash the Omega AI, she said. The one we locked away for being too dangerous. It's not human, the man said simply. It can hunt what we can't control. Silence. She didn't answer. Because they'd lost control the moment they'd abandoned the Revenants. Then another signal came through. No location, no encryption, just 5 words. We're already here. Attached was a single feed, the gates of Union Command. Standing alone in the blizzard, Silas. Helmet off, face exposed. Behind him, the storm shifted. 12 figures emerged, armored, silent, watching. The ghosts were home. The storm howled across the ice plains. But inside Union Command, no one spoke. Snipers locked on drones tracked every heartbeat. No one fired. He's not attacking, Lena said. He's waiting, someone whispered. For what? A soft chime rang out. Incoming request. Direct channel. Call sign Thurwan and Sand. Lena accepted. Silas's voice came through unfiltered. No more shadows, no more lies. I'm not here to burn Earth. I'm here to make you look. Lena stood straight. You shouldn't have come. You sent us to die, he said. We died and we learned how to live in death. She hesitated. Come inside alone. They are my story, he said. They come with me. Security flared. Guns readied. But Lena gave the order. Stand down. And for the first time in history, Earth's most protected gates opened for those they'd erased. The Revenants walked in, not as soldiers, not as invaders, but as judgment. They entered the central command hall. 12 black armored ghosts facing the men and women who made them. Created them, abandoned them. Silas walked to the center, placed a data shard on the table, tapped it once. Holograms erupted. Children in Dominion cages. Genetic labs splicing DNA. Colony leaders selling their people for peace. Documents signed by Union officials. Lena didn't look away. We didn't know, someone muttered. Silas turned. You chose not to. He stared at her. You told us to protect Earth at all costs, then buried us with those costs. She didn't deny it. I wanted to save Earth, she said. We were losing. You forgot something, Silas said. We were the colonies. Silence. Then Carrara stepped forward. We didn't come to kill you, not today. Ash chuckled. That'd be too easy. We came to give your people the truth, Silas said, and let them decide what you deserve. He stepped back. Behind him, another Revenant tossed a small orb to the ground. It activated an uplink. All screens lit up. The world saw them. The ghosts. Forgotten. Real. Silas looked into the broadcast camera. This is what peace cost. The blood your leaders paid wasn't theirs. We were the shield, and you never asked what it cost to hold the line. Now you know. He walked off screen. The transmission ended. 3 days later, Earth fractured. Protests became riots. Colonial militias defected. Truth surged like wildfire. And the Revenants, they left, unstopped, unbroken. Somewhere far from Earth, they moved through the void, not as killers, not as saviors, just watchers, waiting, so that no empire, no government, no lie would ever bury them again. Because now the galaxy knew. The ghosts were real, and they never forget. Sentence from the shadows. The storm over Antarctica had passed, but its echo remained in headlines and hearts, in the silence that now haunted every corridor of Terran Union Command. They had returned, and they had spoken, not in bullets, not in blood, but in truth, and that was worse. Across Earth, the system trembled. Markets collapsed, news anchors shook, governments stalled. People marched, mothers and fathers, veterans and students, engineers and farmers. Some carried candles, others carried printed names, but all carried the same question. Why were they left? In Luna City, a young girl held a photo of her older brother, KIA, on Mars 7 years ago. Now she whispered his name on the steps of the Terran archives. In a forgotten mining colony on Europa, dozens of workers laid down tools, played the Revenant broadcast on loop, and began scratching the words "We are still here" into the walls of the settlement. In the halls of Parliament, silence reigned. Not even the bravest dared to call it propaganda anymore. Because the faces in the footage, they had names. Meanwhile, back beneath Earth's surface, General Lena Cross stood alone in the once crowded war chamber. Screens flickered, trying to update. Too much truth was in motion. Her breath misted in the cold. She hadn't slept, not since Silas walked through the gates. Not since he said, "You told us to protect Earth, then buried us with the cops." The phrase repeated in her mind like a wound that wouldn't close. She had believed once that it was necessary, that losing the outer colonies was the only path to peace, that if the war had reached Earth's core, it would have ended everything. She had called it strategy. Silas had called it betrayal. Now she wasn't sure which it really was. The Omega Protocol still waited in the shadows. AI without morals, code with claws. Some wanted to unleash it, some begged not to. But Lena knew whatever they did next wouldn't fix the past. And revenge didn't listen to reason. A black file hit her desk. It contained a map. Dozens of Dominion sites marked in red, now gone. 3 new sites marked in yellow. Targets next. She turned the page. A transmission intercepted on a fringe outpost. They thought we were weapons. They forgot we were wounds. Meanwhile, the revenants moved. Not in armies, in shadows. In the wind between transmissions. In the silence between disasters. In the gap between truth and history. They dismantled child experimentation rings masked as medical programs. They stormed AI memory banks that tried to rewrite Terran culture into Dominion obedience. They found humans not yet broken and reminded them they weren't alone. One revenant designation, 055N, left a single sentence carved into a metal doorframe of a secret Dominion camp before vanishing into the trees. This was never rescue, this is sentence. The survivors' 63 children were carried to neutral territory. They would remember nothing but the blue cracks in the black armor and the soft voice that said, "You're safe now." On a drifting outpost near Saturn's rings, Silas stood facing the stars. Behind him was a wall scratched and burned with names. Some were old, some new, some were recent additions. Dominion prisoners, rescued former Terran soldiers, reawakened by the broadcast. Even a few alien defectors who had seen the broadcast and walked away from war. Carrara entered quietly. She placed a data shard beside him. Another one, she said, Virex AI backups. They had recordings, test footage, memory wipes, it's all real. He nodded, not turning. She watched him for a long moment. How long are we going to keep going? Silas finally looked at her. His voice was calm. Until they understand who, he turned back to the stars. All of them. Ash arrived a moment later, helmet tucked under his arm, blood drying along the chest plate. We took down another lab on Corin 4, he said. They were building sleeper agents, children. Silas clenched his jaw in the Union. They're pretending it's not happening. Carrera sighed, typical. Silas walked to the central console, pulled up the latest orbital scans, 3 more target markers. He spoke without emotion. Next! Carrera tapped one thesser. Deep colony hidden Dominion site. No lights on the map. Ash grinned. They won't see us coming. In the corner of the outpost, a transmission played on repeat. A line from Silas's broadcast, one sentence now spray painted on walls, worn on shirts burned into memory. We are not your soldiers. We are your reckoning. Weeks passed, then months. Rumors spread. One said a revenant was spotted in the Senate Tower on Luna. Another said Silas had built a hidden fortress near Alpha Centauri. A third claimed Earth had begun negotiating in secret, offering full pardon. No one knew what was true. That was the point. The ghosts were everywhere. And then one day an unexpected message appeared, not on a military channel, on every public channel. The screen went black. Then the revenant symbol, then Silas's voice. We never wanted vengeance. We wanted to be remembered. But you turned your backs, and we became your consequence. Do not look to the stars with wonder until you learn to look into your own shadow without flinching. Then silence. No follow-up, no threat, no demands, just silence. And that was the loudest message of all. Back on Earth, Lena stood at the edge of the Arctic perimeter, watching snow fall over the tracks the revenants had left. They never looked back. They never needed to, because now the galaxy would never forget, and neither would she. Legends, they had called them. Now they knew better. Legends could fade, but ghosts never rest. Ghosts never forget. Ghosts sentence us all.